I'm going to go with in the quarterback room, and I'm going to say Tate Rod. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton going at it, battling very well. But I think in the end,
Hey guys, it's Terrence Mann. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by Noel Game Day. Go Noles.
Hey, what's up? This is Peter Ward, aka E-Dub, in the house. So we're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by Noel Game Day. Go live, go Noles.
Hi, this is Charlie Ward, and you're listening to Hear the Spear. Go Noles.
This is Terrell Buckley. You're listening to Hear the Spear, presented by Noel Game Day. No Bloody.
But perhaps better known as the greatest corner to ever step on a football field, Deion Primetime Sanders.
Great Deion Sanders, my brother. What's going on, man? I could wake up to that greeting every day, man. That was awesome.
Hello, Noles fans. This is former Seminole Derek Brooks, and you're listening to Hear the Spear, presented to you by Noel Game Day.
James Wilder Jr. What's going on, James?
Thanks for having me on. SSOD, Florida State or Die, and go Noles.
William Bar None Floyd.
Gentlemen, what's up?
what is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Hear the Spear, presented to you by Noel Game Day. We are here on this wonderful, fantastic Thursday evening. We got a lot to talk about tonight. A good little bit here. We got some recruiting. We got ACC Media Day coming up. Florida State just had a new addition onto their staff, big time, with helping out recruiting in that Georgia area with Kenyatta Watson joining. We've got a few commitments coming up soon for some FSU targets. Dustin's going to give us a laydown on that, and hopefully Nate will be here too to join in. Then also, we're going to give each of us one bold prediction for the season ahead. One bold prediction before fall camp begins, actually. So we'll be giving you guys that. I know everybody's just anticipating it like crazy. You just have to calm down a little bit. It will be later on in the show. And then Austin's got some nuggets. Now, he's not going to share fully all the nuggets. He shared all of them with our guys, our members in the Discord. But Austin's got some latest with Florida State basketball, some things getting interesting for Leonard Hamilton and recruiting for that next upcoming class. So, gentlemen, what's good? Happy Thursday. Good to see you. These are the last couple shows until things start getting interesting, where we'll be talking about football practices.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
How's the
That was the weirdest way to say that. That was like, are you okay? Are you in danger? Are you in danger?
How are we doing tonight?
He's got a gun to his head off camera.
Yeah. Are you okay?
Did just recently get a firearm, and it does scare me a little bit. So,
why'd you get a firearm?
My brother got a firearm.
Oh, so what does that have to do with you acting really
because
weird?
Because my younger brother has a gun, and it's just, he might be outside right now.
Okay. Well, I don't have any further comment.
I just want to play into it. I don't know.
Well, gentlemen, Austin, how you doing? How are things going?
Chilling. Just chilling. Thursdays are my day off. It's always a good day.
It is. It's even better because you're here with us. You get to hang out with us. I don't think we got to. Did we get to see you last week?
It was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
I'll
That's right.
Week.
I'm sorry. I guess I must have not really remembered too much. Damn.
It happens. How's the knee?
Sorry. The knee's doing good, guys. The MRI came back, and just seems to be just a partial tear in my MCL. So no surgery, and that's a good thing. Don't have to go through all that crap. So I'm just rehabbing now, and hopefully by August, heading into Doak Campbell, or September, and in Doak Campbell Stadium, I'll be able to like jog in there and such. So
sounds like they got you on some good pain pills.
No pain pills for me. Sadly, I just have to go through and be a regular man, Dustin, a hardworking man, and go through the pain and grow some chest hair.
Can we see if you can walk right now, like in the background?
I can walk. It's just like a bad limp. I look like a doofus.
Can you do a squat?
No, I cannot. I don't think that would be suggested by my doctor either.
You just said you're a real man, though.
I am a real man. But sorry. I'm not going to hurt myself even more just for you, even for the views. I'll do a lot of things for YouTube views and Twitter views and all that, but I'm not going to snap my leg, really. That just depends on how many views, really. Anyways, Let's jump into everything. Before we get started, guys, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Google Play. If you're on YouTube right now, we definitely appreciate it if you hit that like button. It helps out a ton with the videos and gets it out there to more FSU fans. And also, if you're on iTunes listening right now, definitely appreciate it if you leave a 5-star rating, leave a review. We would definitely appreciate it. That's all we got to say. Quick and easy. Let's jump into some content here. So first off, Florida State just made a new hire. Mike Norvell is not done and definitely in the recruiting game. He is staying hot, striking with Kenyatta Watson. He's been named as a director of player relations at Florida State University. I talked about this on the Mark Rogers show last night, but it seems like this is a combination. You were kind of looking at Kenyatta Watson and also Bartow. You know, who two of those were going to be the hire, and so you take Bartow first. Mike Norvell gets him, and then some people were like, well, there's still Watson out there. Boom, out of nowhere, Mike Norvell takes and grabs Watson out of Georgia. He's got a big time pipeline in there, a lot of connections and networking. And he's all around a lot of these camps and these athletes. And I think it's a big thing, not only maybe just for football, but maybe a little bit into some basketball too. He's got so many connections up there in Atlanta. There is some prime talent up in that area. As we know, Florida State is trying to excel hard in getting those Florida pipelines fixed. And Bartow has been a great help with that. And also up north now in Georgia a little bit.
Yeah, Mike Norvell is not playing around when it comes to recruiting right now. I mean, we've seen what Florida State's doing when it comes to landing players, and then they're just continuing to put people in place to carry that momentum and just further the connections this program has. You already said it, Logan, but Ryan Bartow, he really dominates when it comes to Florida connections, and I mean, we've seen some of the things he's done scouting wise already since he's got to Florida State. So I would say Watson is basically what Bartow is, but in Georgia, he's got connections everywhere, knows a ton of high school coaches, has, worked with Grayson High School, I believe. His son played there, is now at Georgia Tech. So he's watched these athletes come up. He knows the process. And I think he's going to just continue, because we've seen what Florida State's doing in Georgia. They've landed a lot of talent so far the last couple classes that Norvell has been here, and that should just continue.
Yep, and I keep on forgetting this too, but you got the focus with Bartow in the Florida area, but you've also hired Randy Shannon too, D-Lou. I mean, that's also another strength that you're trying to build that pipeline, keep kind of clearing it out and bringing them in. And that's definitely with Randy Shannon and Bartow down there in Florida. Now you have the addition of Watson up there in Georgia and definitely in Atlanta. I mean, all the talent there, it just kind of continues that momentum. And it's funny to see Mike Norvell, kind of just a little bit of a surprise hire. You're kind of feeling like, things are set before the football season, but he goes in and grabs a big time snag here with Watson, well respected from recruits too. I mean, the momentum that Mike Norvell is continuing to bring in for this recruiting game, which is kind of a little shocking, maybe nationally for some people to see, how well he's doing. And, it just goes to show how big he is on building relationships too.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned Randy Shannon. You also have to think about Sabbath Joseph, who has that connection to down in Miami to one of the high schools where Daughtry Richardson and Wesley Basaint both play. So, Mike Norvell, he's not just bringing in guys off the field. He's bringing in guys that have quality attributes, can help on the recruiting trail. They're not just in the back to be in the back. They're actually putting in a lot of work. And, we're seeing it all pay off. This whole staff, it really feels like they're in sync right now. And I think that's something Florida State has missed last couple of years. It's felt like everybody hasn't been on the same page.
Yeah, what do you think, Dustin? Are there any targets in the Georgia area, or is there some recruits out there that Watson can really help on snagging? That we think this hire could help with a few guys that they're after, maybe not only in 2022 class but 2023, or help solidify, keep a commitment down. Like where do you think? Maybe in certain schools, but definitely any recruits out there that this should be able to help them and building the relationships and getting them to sign with Florida State.
I would say too that it might have an impact on is Dion Bowie, who was formerly committed to Georgia, and it seems like he's really interested in Florida State right now. We'll see if FSU can get him back on campus this upcoming month for the event they're going to be holding in July. And then maybe Jaron Willis as well, who we know was a heavy Florida State favorite before he committed to Georgia Tech. And it seems like his visit last month kind of opened the door a little bit. So we'll see if those connections pay off.
Yeah, so looking back at Watson, we'll go through a little bit of his bio, but if people don't know, he was actually he played at Boston College. Eventually, was drafted and played for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's also, like we talked about earlier, his relationships in high schools with tournaments, 7-on-7, certain things like that is what he excels at best, and he's built so many relationships. His son actually plays at Georgia Tech up there in Atlanta. And so he said, in his interview with Florida State and the piece that they put out, he said this is a destination program with the tradition, championships, and players. What more can you ask for? He says he looks forward to being a part of Florida State, returning to the pinnacle of college football. He wants to return it back to the big times. I'm extremely excited to be in my role and will make an immediate impact. So with my thoughts, I go straight to recruiting, and will be interested to see what kind of momentum may be headed that way for FSU. Definitely in that Georgia region. It just goes to show, man, you got Ryan Bartow, you got Randy Shannon, now you got Kenyatta Watson. I mean, it just this recruiting kind of networking thing that Mike Norvell is doing. He's just kind of just playing the long game and smart game more than anything. So I wish Nate was on here again. I know we've got it in the comments here. MIA once again. I don't know what it is. He just doesn't like hanging out with us. It is the off season kind of. Things are going to start changing up a little bit, so hopefully we'll get him on here. But we'll get his take on here. But
hey, where's Los at?
Yeah, where's Los too? Los ain't on here either. I mean, come on, man. We're just over here grinding on our own. It will be. But hey, I appreciate the nice comment here from Dan in the comments. Appreciate it. But yeah, big hire here. I think primarily that Georgia region is going to be huge for recruiting under Watson. Up next, we got the ACC Media Day. Florida State is going to be traveling pretty soon. Things are starting to feel a little bit like football season, gentlemen. They're going to be traveling up to Charlotte to begin the ACC Media Days. I believe on the 22nd is whenever the Atlantic Division teams will be there. Boston College, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, NC State, Syracuse, and Wake Forest. The three guys, pretty interesting here. No longer two players are being picked to come. Now three will be selected to represent their schools. The three selected are Jermaine Johnson for Florida State. You got Jordan Travis, and you've also got Mackenzie Milton. Gentlemen, is this a little shock? Is there any shockers in this to you guys? Because I have my take on it. I'm interested to hear y'all's. Is it a shocker at any, or was it kind of expected? What are y'all's takes on this, with those three being selected?
I guess I would say, maybe it's a little bit of a surprise, because you do have the two transfers and Milton and Johnson, who, well,
Three.
You know what I mean. The two new transfers who have just gotten to Florida State recently and have only been on campus, for 7 months or so. So they're new to Florida State. They're new to the team and everything. So I thought that was a little strange, but I can see why, because obviously I think Mike Norvell, he wants to show that this quarterback battle is a real thing between Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton. And, Travis obviously started last year. They've went through this battle so far. No one, well, at least from Mike Norvell, no one has really set themselves apart. So I think he just wanted to bring them both to show this is a legitimate competition. Jordan Travis is going to have his shot to win that job. And, he's going to let everything play out in fall camp. And as for Johnson, I think it's just having probably your most talented player production-wise on the defensive side of the ball.
I mean, I think it makes sense to send Jordan Travis, given that he was your starting quarterback all last year. or not all last year, but for the majority of last year, it wouldn't make sense to not send him, given that he's still on the roster. I think it just would have been a bad PR look if you didn't send him. Yeah, of course, he's going to send Milton and Johnson, who we all think will be the 2 MVPs for both sides of the ball. And I think you have to send Travis. I think it makes a lot of sense. And like Dustin said, he just doesn't want to tip his hand on the battle just yet.
Yeah, I'm interested to see really. I don't know. To me, you're sending Mackenzie Milton either way. ACC was going to fight that. They want to have him there. You got to get the storylines in there no matter what. You got to have Milton there. You got to get him there for the interviews, the comeback, the whole storyline. They want that there no matter what. So you also got to send Jordan Travis too, because like Dustin said, this is going to be a battle no matter what. And unlike Nate may think, he's not here to argue with me at this time, so he can't. But he thinks that it's just Mackenzie Milton's job no matter what since he's stepped foot in Tallahassee. I don't agree that fully yet. We'll get into some fun arguments the next couple of weeks heading into camp. But those two are going to go. And Jermaine Johnson, doesn't shock me. He's going to be one of your most talented guys on the team next season. Most certainly on defense, that's a pivotal guy to have for success this upcoming year and getting after the quarterbacks, because Florida State has not seen that in a long while. But I also think about guys that are veterans, that have committed to Florida State. You've got a Tallahassee standout, that has been a true Nole since the beginning, like Amari Gaynor, and kind of left off the list. I know there's probably I don't know how it is, but I don't know what Mike Norvell and how their selection they wanted to go to represent. We could be missing things, but just looking at it from the outside, though, I'd see it kind of tough. You don't select having Amari Gaynor or even Emmett Rice up there.
Those were two I would say, definitely deserved it. Gaynor and Emmett Rice, maybe even Devontae Love Taylor or Corbin. I think they could both give some unique perspectives, but I guess that's how it goes. You only get a certain amount.
Yeah, it was just a little shocking to me, but there you got to bring in three. That's crazy though. In realistic terms, you've got 3 transfers that are representing Florida State, and some people on Twitter, I don't know if you guys believe it, but they were saying this is a message from Mike Norvell that, I don't care if you're transfers or what, you're still going to go and represent FSU. And like he isn't fond of the guys that he has in the locker room. I don't fully believe that whatsoever. There might have been some guys earlier on that we might have seen during this time last year that are no longer with the program or are gone or maybe heading into the pros now. But I don't buy that one bit. I think either he made this decision on what he feels like is going to be best for, number one, representing Florida State, because there's a ton of interviews that go on throughout those couple days. And number two, these two guys are going to see the field a lot. You don't just kind of throw the guys up there to be, get all that media attention and, they don't see the field at all next year. You don't usually see that. I always think about going back to Jalen Ramsey and his awesome ACC media day that he had going around and interviewing all of the players there. And I think it was Virginia said something about like beating Florida State. And he said, "What you talk about?" or something like that. That's what always reminds me of ACC media days, but it's going to be any other, I'm trying to think too. I mean,
well, I would just say, we're talking about there being so many, Florida State's bringing the 3 transfers to the media day. But can you imagine if they would have just brought Mackenzie Milton and Jermaine Johnson? I mean, the media would probably just make it a very big deal, bigger than it should be. So I think Norvell, and, we know how much he cares about perception. I think it makes sense to bring them both, and you don't even really have to have that argument, because if you just have one there, people are going to be like, oh, well, he's probably the starter. So now you've got both to show that, he's making this legitimate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm trying to get the names down of, I had a list the other day, but now I completely forgot it. I don't have it on here. But the list of names that will be in attendance, I think Florida State and another team. There are only 2 teams that have 2 quarterbacks coming. I want to say it's Syracuse. I might be completely wrong. I don't know the names. I have not done my due diligence. I don't know. I've not done my due diligence. Sorry, everybody on the Syracuse roster. but I want to say it's Syracuse. Maybe someone in the comments will let us know. But I think it goes to show, though, and I think I do agree with you, D-Lou, that you gotta have both quarterbacks there. Both, I think, are most certainly representing Florida State very well. Mackenzie Milton has been there, done this. He's a veteran. Jordan Travis, more of a quiet guy. I think it's going to be unique, actually. I think it's going to give us a lot of answers and kind of see how Jordan Travis is talking to the media. We've seen a few interviews here and there, but he's more of a quiet guy. Mackenzie Milton isn't a loudmouth, whatsoever, but Jordan Travis is more kept to himself. He kind of does his play on the field. And, we've always heard about Jordan Travis, maybe, and things that we've heard in the locker room. It's more of a Mackenzie Milton having that kind of personality attitude that he brings out. And Jordan Travis is more kept to himself. And so I'm interested to see if there's a different Jordan Travis that we hear from, or if it's kind of like last year. We'll see if he kind of moves up as a bigger of a leader. And so maybe that's what, Mike Norvell is sending him out there to do too. So I think it will be a fun ACC Media Days, most certainly, to hear about. And, there's going to be a lot of questions about Mackenzie Milton and his injury and coming back from that. And there's going to be a lot of talk about, can Florida State also come back? Because they've also been down and injured, it feels like, the last couple of years. And then you've also got Jermaine Johnson, who's going to get asked questions nonstop about the difference between the SEC and him going to the ACC, all that kind of jazz. Why do you leave Georgia? Why do you come to FSU? And so Jordan Travis just gets to sit there and get the questions of, are you ready to compete? And, are you going to beat Mackenzie Milton? Like all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be fun, I think, guys. I think it's going to be a good ACC Media Day. And it does feel good that we're not that far away. This all starts on the ACC kickoff starts on July 21st. So it feels nice. We're only less than a week away from some football stuff happening.
Yeah, I can't wait for Media Day. That's complete sarcasm.
What? You didn't want to be sent up there?
Well, so you don't want to come fly up here? We can go to Media Day together?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to go interview some football people now?
No, I'll go. I might go watch. No, I'm kidding.
Island Boy says that it's just a scare tactic. Mike's just saying, look at my new toys, beware, talking about the transfers coming in. Maybe so. Maybe it's all tactics. I don't know. We'll see. Let's jump into a little bit of, I didn't even have this on the docket, but, this could be a quick 20 seconds. I know it's so sad. I'm having to do 30,000 things, but I missed one thing. Deontay Williams, we can spend 30 seconds on this. Deontay Williams, a Baylor defensive end transfer, is entered the transfer portal. I think some people might have forgot that he was even on the roster, Dustin and Austin, but he most recently, I believe yesterday, entered the transfer portal. Don't think it's much of a miss, perhaps, at all to me. But he's no longer with the program. I don't think he recorded a stat, I don't believe.
He did not record a stat, but he was a legacy player, so show him some respect.
Yeah, but he probably saw the writing on the wall because we've gotten 2 DN transfers, including that one last week. I forget his name, but
we didn't even talk about him yet.
Yeah, I haven't even talked about him.
Didn't put that one on the docket, Logan.
Come on,
well,
Logan.
This is God. I've got. If I could show everybody what I've got going on right here, right now, I wish I could. But you know what? I'm not going to complain because life is good. We're alive and we're able to talk some football with my good friends here, Dustin and Austin. Kill me now. I mean, so let's move on. So let's talk about the flip, the defensive end flip. And Dustin, I think you should just run us in so then I can tweet out this part.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, it basically seemed like this one was over, and we're talking about Alabama A&M transfer defensive end, Marcus Cushney. And he was a guy Florida State reached out to as soon as he entered the transfer portal. He was on campus in June for a visit. I believe it was for the Midnight Madness he was on campus for. And he went through a workout for the coaching staff. He got to meet the coaches, go through the visit and everything. He ended up coming out of it with a preferred walk-on offer. And at the time, I believe Purdue had offered him a scholarship, and he went ahead and went with the scholarship offer. And, we've been monitoring Florida State going after, another transfer offensive lineman with that last scholarship spot. And I mean, it just hasn't worked out. There hasn't really been a good fit on either side the last couple weeks. So with one scholarship left, Florida State went ahead and offered it to Cushney, and he decided to flip from Purdue to Florida State. And this is a very talented pass rusher coming into Tallahassee. And, you know, it's really been a complete change in that defensive end room. Speaking about Cushney, he only played in 4 games. I believe it was a spring season, and he had 7 sacks, 7.5 tackles for loss in just 4 games. Season before that, he played in all 12. He had 7 sacks and 13 tackles for loss. So you're getting a guy who's going to come off the edge and really get after the quarterback. At the very minimum, I think he's going to be one of the first guys off the bench for Florida State and probably in on pass rushing downs. But there is a chance that I think he could end up starting opposite of Jermaine Johnson and really be a productive player for Florida State. I believe he has 2 years of eligibility left.
Ooh, man, that's a little bit of a bold prediction. Are you giving us kind of a little hint at your bold predictions during the fall camp segment of this podcast?
That could be one.
That could be. You might have just found it, but I think that's very bold. I think that's very bold. Rashawn Fuller had a very nice spring.
You got his video to pull up?
Don't have his video. I was just thinking about that too, and I don't know who tweeted that. That was, I think, one of his trainers or coaches, if I'm correct.
I have no idea.
It would be nice if I was able to find that video. But
I mean, regardless, this is just a guy. And, you know, we talked about how much Florida State struggled to put pressure on the quarterback last year. I can't remember exactly how many team sacks it was off the top of my head, but I think it was like, what, six or 7?
Yeah.
Not even for the entire team. It was a really disappointing year with the amount of talent we thought Florida State had on the edge. And now they've completely changed that, brought in Jermaine Johnson, Keir Thomas. Now with Cushney, you get those transfer defensive ends, and then you've got a bunch of true freshmen coming in. So we'll see how they fit into the mold once we get into fall camp. So really just a complete overhaul.
Yeah, I'm just such a letdown because we didn't have this down on the docket, so I'm not able to find the tweet. So maybe if someone DMs us, DMs me the link, I'll be able to put it up here on the feed. But he comes in and he's extremely in shape. That's the thing. I mean, I think the cat. I think what they said, 230. It's a big cat. He's a big boy, big cat.
He's a man. Never heard of that cat.
Oh my God! Please, you're not the one to tell anybody that they're a man. First of all, number one. But now he looks like he's in crazy good shape too. Can I compare him to Myles Garrett? I'm just kidding.
If you did, you would have been on crack.
Oh man, goodness! Let me bring up one of these. I would definitely appreciate James here for the 30 bomb here on the live chat. He says, "Hey guys, loving the show. What receiver is going to have the best year? I'm from Pensacola, so I'm partial to Keshawn Helton. I think he'll be back to form 2 years removed from his injury. I might be there with you. I don't know if he'll be the best wide receiver, but I do think he is going to have a pretty good season during the spring scrimmages, and those are just scrimmages, and you're just kind of playing around with things. But he was being fed a lot of the ball with the speed pitches too. He was being a lot with reverses. Just while we were there, Dustin, we got to see him utilize in the backfield just a little bit too. Mm-hmm. But to you guys, and I'll give my answer too, which receiver is going to have the best year overall for FSU next season? Thank you, James, for the friendly donation. Definitely appreciate it.
I mean, it's the cop-out answer. For me, it's got to be Andrew Parchment, the grad transfer from Kansas. He's just a guy. He's a deep ball threat. He's very athletic, got good speed. And, now that he's on campus and they're starting to do 7-on-7s, player run workouts, they're starting to build chemistry, I think he's going to have a good season for Florida State. I don't want to say 1,000 yards, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets, 700 or more.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with Parchment having. I'm under the assumption Milton's going to be the quarterback, and Kansas
I didn't want to say it.
Kansas just had really bad quarterback play last year. I think Parchment's going to be that guy. We saw it a few years ago when he was actually getting fed the ball that he can make plays. I think it's Parchment. I think a lot of these guys are going to bounce back seasons because it's not going to be a strictly run offense that has to stay ahead of the chains to move the ball. You can get in those 2nd and 12 situations and not be scared with Milton as quarterback. If he would be the quarterback, you could throw these deep balls to Helton, Parchment, whoever. But I think it's probably Parchment.
Yeah, and at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Keyshawn Helton or Ontario Wilson both have really good years, and we'll see if some of the true freshmen can step up as well. There's some talent in that room. It's just not really proven talent. So we're going to see if this unit can start to take that step forward throughout fall camp.
Yeah, there's a lot of youngins. I'm definitely excited about Andrew Parchment immediately once he's arrived. Looking back at Parchment, too, and his offseason before arriving at Florida State, he was training with one, loser Noel Dalvin Cook for a couple months down there in Miami. And that was sarcasm, loser, Dustin. That was sarcasm, obviously. Now we probably never get him on the show, but guys, everybody, that's sarcasm. But yeah, probably will get clipped. But no, Dalvin Cook, obviously one of the best running back ever to come through Florida State. Training with him, comes to Florida State in great shape, and immediately from what we were told, we dropped this in our Discord and gave some little nuggets, and Nate heard some things. Immediately goes out and starts training with Mackenzie Milton and Jordan Travis. This cat is fast. You'll be able to use him as a weapon down the field. That's something Milton, we've seen at UCF. It's worked very well. We also got to see a little bit of it during the spring game when he exploded and was connecting well with even some of the younger wide receivers like Burrell and McLean. There's a lot of excitement for that wide receiver room overall. I think it's going to be a big change from last year. But what are you laughing at?
I don't know. Your voice changed.
Well, I'm a man, Dustin. I'm going to continue to say that. It's low, I know. But no, I do think that wide receiver room is going to be a lot different. But I do think Andrew Parchment, if I were to put some money down, I'm starting to gamble a little bit. I'm having some fun gambling. If I'm going to gamble, I got to put it on Parchment for right now. But look at those youngins, man. And, we haven't talked about Dustin Hill in a while, and we'll still see if he'll arrive for fall camp or not. But, that is one cat. If I were going to do a bold prediction, and it would have been a crazy one. It would have been an insane one. It would have been a crazy one. But that cat is just a ridiculous.
I don't even think it's that. I don't even think it's that insane.
That he would be the leader. That he'd be the leader in receiving as a true freshman. I think it would be
I think he would be top 3, at least.
I was going to go all the way and say top. That would have been crazy. I'm here for the bold predictions this week.
But I will say, nothing new on him recently. It's been a little quiet on that front, and we'll just have to see if things work out.
Absolutely. That's a good question, though. Let's move on to some extra stuff here. We've got some more recruiting for us to go through. We talked about them a lot last week on the show. A lot of you guys can go back and listen to that. But we're going to continue a little bit because this is a big one, a quarterback potential commit with Chris Parson out of the 2022 class from Tennessee. Actually, 2023 class, my bad. And he is going to be committing on his birthday next Thursday during this time. Maybe we can get him to come on here and announce it, Dustin. If there's a way, you've been connecting with him a lot. Let's start making some jabs and get this commits happening live for everybody on YouTube. All 90 listeners and viewers right now.
People
Dustin, get to work.
Let's just see if he commits to Florida State first.
People think we're cursed. He'd come on the No Game Day podcast and commit to Penn State. That's the kind of luck we've gotten recently.
That would be hilarious, though.
Yeah, but he's going to be making his commitment on Thursday. I think definitely Florida State is in a good area right now. You most recently talked to him just for a little bit this week, D-Lou. What's the latest on him? And a very talented quarterback out of the 2023 class from Tennessee.
Yeah, like you said, we talked about him last week. He released his top 8. Some of the top contenders are probably Florida State, Miami, Kentucky, and Tennessee, I would say, to land him. Right now, it looks like things are going in Florida State's favor. And we talked about it last week, but that really comes after his visit to FSU, where he got to meet with the coaching staff, and they told him that he was the top quarterback on their board for the 2023 class, and he really vibed with that message. And this is a guy, his cousin is Seminole legend Terrell Buckley, so he's already got those Knoll bloodlines. And yeah, Florida State looking good for this decision right now. I was talking to him earlier this week and just asking him how his decision process was coming, and he told me it's going to be something special. The decision process has been going well. I've been talking it over with my parents and coaches, and I think we're going to have a final decision here soon. So it sounds like, his mind isn't quite made up, and, he's still got a week before he goes public with that decision, but he's slowly starting to settle on the school that he'll eventually be committing to.
Mm-hmm. I think from what, you've interviewed him and everything, I think this is Florida State's in a good direction right now with him. And the biggest thing we got to see whenever he arrived at FSU, the whole entire staff was out there to greet him. It goes to show. And relationships have been the biggest thing. We've heard from guys that have already committed to Florida State, and they've talked with you and also Nate, and practically told you, the relationships thing is the biggest deal, and being real with them. Coach Atkins, to a few of these offensive line guys, he said, all right, you're committed. You still got to work on a lot more things. Like, you got to change up some things, even, to guys that are on the current team. Coach Atkins is very real with them. And it seems like that's kind of been all over the staff too overall. So, this is something I think relationships over everything with Chris Parson. You coming from Tennessee, you're obviously going to have some competition. Definitely, I think some big time competition heading into next year too. This is still a young cat 2023 class, but there is a lot of talent that this cat has. And, you've really liked his tape, Dustin, looking at
really,
it.
I really like him.
Well, ask him out on a date.
Not what I meant, but we showed his tape a little bit last week. And this dude, he just knows how to move in the pocket, make plays on the run. I don't even know how I would say it. He can make decisions on the fly. If a play isn't going well, switch things up. Really good deep ball, good ball placement. And, he's down there at 288 on 247 right now. I wouldn't even worry about it. Watching him, I think he's a future top 150 prospect minimum, but I see him in the top 100.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And with more getting back to normal and the whole COVID-19 thing kind of, diminishing itself, kind of slowing down a little bit. This is going to help a lot of guys and current FSU commits, but only, Chris Parson, definitely a quarterback going to tournaments like this and be able to perform well is going to go a whole way.
Yeah, he's had a really good offseason on the 7-on-7 circuit. And, maybe some things that are being held against him is just he's now on his third high school in 3 years. He originally from Texas, played his freshman year. I said it in a previous podcast, but played in Texas his freshman year, played at a different school in Texas his sophomore year, now is coming to Tennessee for his junior year. So I think as long as he has a little bit of stability, has a good season, he's going to be a riser, man.
Mm-hmm. There's a question out of here from D. Reveille asking, who's got the best quarterback out of the big three between Miami, Florida, and Florida State? In y'all's opinion, I think Florida's not even with Jones. But yeah, Florida's at the bottom. Florida's at the bottom right now, in my opinion. So I can go ahead and set them there. We can all agree on that. But obviously, you've got Derek King. If he's coming back fully healthy, we'll have to see how he looks. And then now you've got a battle between Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton.
I'll take the guy who was in the Heisman conversation at one point in his college career.
Yeah, it's
the other two. I'm not sure if they've done very much.
JJ Constantino is who? Oh no, okay.
It's just tough because you got one quarterback in King coming off what was a torn ACL.
Yeah.
You've got Milton coming back from basically an entirely blown out knee, and then Travis, who's mainly a running threat. I don't know. It's tough. Obviously, Derek King's getting a lot of hype, as he should. He was a very good player, but it's really just whoever's healthiest right now.
What about Florida? You think Emory Jones is in this conversation, Austin?
I would take Tate Rodemaker over Emory Jones.
Jeez, whoa, come on now.
Whoa, some PFF guy or whatever it is.
No, he's
top 10. Come on, man.
No.
Yeah, what they do, they put Emory Jones in the top whatever. Like in the NFL draft.
Yeah, like pick number 7 or something crazy like that. Dude hasn't even started a college game.
That's what meth does to you, people. You watch Breaking Bad, that is exactly what that does. Suggest not doing it either, because you'll end up being like our PFF friend, whoever predicted that. Like you got to be either number 1 on something, number 2 you never watched him play football, or number 3 you're a complete effing idiot. Anyways, great question there. Thank you, D-Rev, for the question. There's some more. YouTube is absolutely obliterating itself right now. I've never seen so many comments in one live, but we are rolling. I don't know what's happening. This is what the kids call going viral, Dustin. We are going viral right now. Not really, though. Let's move on to a little bit more recruiting.
Got like 6 viewers.
Nah. If you're the 6 viewers, say hey in the chat. Anyways, going back to some recruiting here, there's also some more upcoming announcements happening, D-Lou. 2022 offensive tackle Daughtry Richardson. This has been a big one at Florida State's after. He's going to be announcing on July 26th, and then it just continues on that offensive line area. You've got 2022 Jalen Early. He's going to be committing on August 2nd. We talked about him last week, and also, the kind of things, the thing you were talking about it with Willis too, who's still committed to Georgia Tech, but the advantage of Florida State having FSU commits and then having some of these targets that are on the same team as them in high school.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it a little bit last week. You mentioned him, obviously, Jalen Early's high school teammate and 2022 tight end Jarrell Powers recently committed to Florida State following his official visit, and he told me that he's going after Jalen Early to get him in his class. Said don't be surprised if he ends up being a Seminole. But just talking about these announcements for a few seconds, obviously the first one looks like it's going to be 2022 offensive tackle Daughtry Richardson on July 26th, like you mentioned, Logan. Right now, this one feels like a Florida State-Miami battle. And really, in my opinion, I think Florida State has been the favorite for a while, and Richardson has been trying to see if another school makes him feel the same way. And in the end, I just think having some family here in Tallahassee, the deep relationship that he's been able to develop with the coaching staff, those are going to be some factors that went out. And I think Florida State right now is the favorite going into that announcement. Feel the same way about Jalen Early. I think I keep saying I said it last week, but I did. Going into this announcement, I think Florida State, Texas Tech, and Ohio State, if they decide that they can fit Early into their class, are going to be the real contenders for him. And this is another one. Florida State blew him away on his official visit, and I just think I mentioned Powers a second ago. I just think those relationships went out in the end. And finally, 2022 running back Jalen Glover, he's been getting closer to his decision. I actually talked to him for a couple minutes this week. He said he plans to commit sometime in August, and right now he's scheduled to visit Florida one of the last days in July. Right now, it's his only visit set up. And this is another one. This is a battle between really Florida State and Florida. So, in my opinion, if he's only going to visit Gainesville before his announcement in August, he's probably going to end up going to the Gators. So, if he doesn't make it back to Florida State on July 25th, I would start to lean that Glover's probably headed to UF. Mm-hmm. And same thing with Richardson. The event Florida State is holding, it's on July 25th. He announces on July 26th. So if he's in Tallahassee the day before he announces his commitment, you've got to feel really good about FSU.
Woo, man, you kind of gave the whole dadgum rundown right there, D-Lou.
Oh, my
bad. Man, you came here to know. No, we're here for it. We're here. Me and Austin
need some water.
Me and Austin are here just watching. Get your sip up. But, man, that's some big – so – a majority of that, I'm feeling some confidence there for FSU. Definitely up there on the offensive line area. We had a big old spiel between all three of us talking about Florida State and racking up the offensive line commits. I mean, I think, what was it, back in 2011, VZ, you were bringing up that they had
9 commits.
9 commits on the offensive line.
Some ended up switching sides, but 9 offensive line commits is insane. And we're not that far away. What are we at right now? 6, 5, something like that.
I
What are we at, D-Lou?
I believe it's 4, right?
I thought we had one more.
I think it's 4. It's 5 with Richardson and then 6 with Early.
I wonder if that's what it is. I may be getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, we have 4 right now, which is a lot better than we all thought.
You've got Baugh, Charlton, Sapp, and Woody right now.
And these aren't just kind of guys like, hey, they're in the class kind of deal. These are some talented cats. I mean, we've talked about them enough. You guys can go back. I think we're going to put out a YouTube video tomorrow, kind of go about 10 minutes full of talking about these offensive linemen and the commits. We put out a video actually earlier today talking about, the physical nature of these guys coming in, the mental attitudes they have. These aren't some sissies rolling through. So that Florida State's after, but it seems like there's some momentum for Florida State. We'll see if Parson kind of starts it for a lot of these offensive tackles. We're going to keep an eye on Richardson and Early, really. And if Jalen Glover wants to go join Emory Jones at Florida, I mean, he'd probably get a lot of carries because Emory Jones can't throw the football in Gainesville. So wouldn't blame him. This cat jumps up on this desk one more time. I'm going to have to turn. I can't have PETA come after me because this window right back here is going to be shattered. So I'm going to have to turn my camera off whenever something happens. I was going to bring up a question on here before I go to jail. Let's see.
Jail.
Well, if I throw a cat out the window, I think I'm going to probably be in trouble, Dustin. I know you've tried punning your dog before because it barks, but I don't think that's really...
You ever seen Anchorman?
Yeah.
That's what I do to my dog. Just punt him off a bridge.
And we're able to just send that in and get Dustin canceled. So perfect. Everybody clip that. Here's a question on here from Jen Fari. How you doing, my man? What do you think of our defensive tackles? Do we have good backups? Does Florida State have some good depth heading into the football season? It's interesting. It's teetering. I think it's teetering right there. Gentlemen,
we talked about it before. I mean, I remember we talked about it. Maybe it was a spring game or a little bit before it or after it. But, you've got to feel comfortable with that top 3 with Fabian Lovett, Dennis Briggs, and True Thompson. That's a solid core to have at defensive tackle. But behind that, you really don't have much and proven talent. I'm trying to think. Obviously, Malcolm Ray, Jarrett Jackson, the Louisville transfer. So you've got some guys, but they just haven't really seen a lot of snaps or contributed much so far during their college careers. So it's kind of the same thing with the wide receiver room. There might be some talent, but they've got to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
But that front 3, you got to feel comfortable with, especially Fabian Lovett. That man was just absolutely dominant during spring practice.
Give me some Dennis Briggs. I'm feeling it. Felt
Dennis
good.
Briggs too.
This was my guy, and Dustin knows it because I didn't stop talking about him, but I felt really good about him heading into this last season. Obviously, things got completely screwed up with COVID-19, and he elected to sit out for a majority of the season and take care of his family. But, he comes back in great shape and plays immediately the night. I forget which game it is, though. I'm a complete idiot here. Might be screwing it up. But he comes in and...
I think it was UNC.
UNC, and he plays a really good amount of snaps. Like I said, he came in shape and played well, and I think, he's moved to number 6 now. Maybe that just changes the whole game. He's going to be a big-time pivotal player for FSU's defensive line. I really do think, though, he's going to play well this upcoming season.
Really, that whole defense – sorry to interrupt you, but really that whole defensive line, I think, is primed for a resurgence. And, I guess that's not saying much because they were so disappointing last year, but I think it's going to be a different story.
Yeah. This is an interesting comment here. We've been hearing a lot. It's been a big-time conversation, and we'll continue. Nate's very high on this kid, but Corey Wren didn't get to see him last year because of injury that he was dealing with during the season, leg injury, and he's back fully. He's 110% from what we've been told. Very fast. Came in, left high school as one of the fastest in the country. Still going to most likely have that speed too. We got to see him quite a bit, D-Lou, at the spring scrimmages. He was used in some pitches, and he was in the backfield a good amount of times also. He got the ball thrown to him in the slot. This is kind of like a little, I don't know. We can't say that yet until he actually plays, because I like making my comparisons. I won't say it yet, but I'll wait until after the first game, then I'll definitely say it. But Florida State and Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham are going to be able to kind of use him in some certain kind of packages that I think are going to help be able to show off that speed. I mean, I don't know where you primarily put him. You just keep him in that backfield back there the whole time? Do you put him in a slot? I think you dice him around everywhere, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's just kind of a flex. You know, you can either put him back there at running back, you can put him in the slot at wide receiver. So, I mean, depending on what you're trying to run, you can put him in different spots and he can contribute. And I really think the key, you mentioned his speed. I mean, I think the key really is just getting the ball to him in space. You know, we saw it a couple of times during the spring. He was getting carries up the middle, and I was like, I don't know, you know, because give this guy a pitch or give him a bubble screen on the outside, get some room for him, let this dude just run into the open field. And I think there's going to be some excitement. You know, he's not really a big guy. I don't really want him running down the middle, having to run people over, because he's not the biggest running back. So it's really just putting him in the best spots for him to be successful with the skill set that he has.
I'm interested to see. I'm excited. Definitely, you got Ja'Kai Douglas too. That's over there.
That wide receiver.
Yeah, he's that wide receiver. So interested to see how both of these are used. But definitely Corey Wren, and definitely going to be a starter day one. We'll see him at kick return against Notre Dame, which will be fun to watch. That speed, if he can kind of find a little hole there too. Woo, he's gone. Bye. See ya. Get a little feels of Kermit Whitfield back in his days. Let's jump into the rest of things here. It seems like Florida State is holding another recruiting event. You've been trying to get connected with a few recruits and maybe get some info on this. It's kind of hard with some of these guys because they're starting their camps a little bit earlier because school begins for them earlier in August. But Florida State is trying to hold a recruiting event on July 25th. Any kind of latest with that, Dustin? Because the last event went very well for the Seminoles and brought a lot of momentum, and it carried on to bring in recruits. Could this kind of be another tale of that?
Yeah, so I've really spent a lot of today reaching out to current commits and guys that I consider top targets of Florida State to check and see if they're going to be attending this event that Florida State's holding on the 25th. And I'll actually be releasing the preliminary list tomorrow in our Discord, so make sure to get in there and check that out. But yeah, it really just seems like this event is kind of going to mirror what Florida State did during Midnight Madness and on July 5th whenever they held their elite camp, which was also another thing that was kind of catered to commits and top targets only. So they're going to have the guys that they want to make priorities in attendance, or at least the guys that can make it. I will say, for instance, AJ Duffy isn't going to be able to make it to the event because of IMG starting back. So like you said, Logan, there's going to be some guys who can't make it in, but the guys who can, Florida State is going to push hard to get them into Tallahassee. And it really feels like this is going to be just another chance for everybody to build relationships with one another, whether that's with the coaching staff or other recruits. So this is going to be like a social thing.
Are you invited?
I don't know. Mike Norvell, hit those DMs.
Hit the DMs up. Hit them up, baby. Well, we'll see if that I think, like I mentioned earlier, the first one went very well. We'll see if the second one does. It's going to be hard to do it with a lot of these younger guys with high school camp coming up with them and workouts and such. But, you know, Mike Norvell's trying to keep on it, man. Try to keep that consistency and don't let it get cold right now. You know, keep it warm. Keep the pot warm. Let's see. This is kind of a little quick answer right here. We talked about him earlier, Sanders, but about Keyshawn Helton. And, you know, he came from a nasty injury 2 years ago. He comes back last year. A little inconsistent there. Is having some problems with some drops. We'll see how he does perform this upcoming season. He's your veteran there in that unit. And we'll see kind of how he plays. I think seen him in the spring scrimmage, and from what we've been hearing in some of the interviews, some of the players also talking about him, seems like he's kind of gotten off that rust from last year, and that should be a good sign too. You want to have a veteran there in that room, and he's even off the field, he's such a big leader, and he's represented Florida State in a fantastic manner, and he's also helped. D-Lou, we were at the spring scrimmages, and there was a few guys in attendance, and Keyshawn Helton spent a little bit of time with a few of them, definitely some FSU targets, so he's also helping too on the sidelines with recruiting too. So he's just overall, I think, a really great person, and it represents Florida State very well, and it's interesting to see how he'll play this upcoming year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he's a fantastic guy by all accounts. To me, I just don't think last year he was fully healthy, because you normally see it just regardless. Guys 1 year off an injury, or 8-9 months off an injury, they're either not really back to full strength, full health yet, or they're not mentally comfortable after suffering an injury. So I think now, being 2 years removed from everything, Keyshawn Helton, he's definitely fully healthy at this point, and I think he's had enough time to shake off that mental rust as well. And those are just two things that I think probably plagued him last year. So I said it earlier, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's among the tops in that wide receiver room.
There's a question here from Matthew Johnson. Appreciate you watching, Matthew. Any updates or clues for Marvin Jones Jr. or Julian Armella? There hasn't been much talk about him lately. I don't think there's been anything, unless I've missed anything. D-Lo, you're way more into this world than I am with recruiting going on 24/7. But with Marvin Jones Jr. being a big-time FSU target, gigantic, Nate, and I think you too, both of y'all have pretty much put him as the number one target heading into next season as a recruit for that class. Got to have that defensive end and that legacy guy. And then you also got Julian Armella, who, showed up to Midnight Madness as kind of a surprise. Nate thinks it was a pretty big deal for him being there. And I think we all agreed too, that was pretty huge for them. Any kind of updates here on these two, or is it kind of just the same old thing that, since Marvin Jones recently committed? I shouldn't do that. Everybody's going to freak out. Visited. I just made everybody like, what just happened? No, recently visited.
Yeah, I would say not really much going on so far since both of their visits back in June. It'll be interesting to see if both of them are in attendance later this month on July 25th for that event that we were just talking about. Other than that, Florida State scheduled to officially host Marvin Jones during the season. I believe it's Miami week, and they don't have anything set up with Julian Armella right now. So a key to every recruitment, at least in my opinion, of guys that haven't committed, always want to see him take an official visit. So it's going to be important for Florida State to get that set up in the near future.
There's some really good questions on here too. We'll jump through this last one before we get into our bold predictions for fall camp. That's it. Okay, so this one's the easy one here, D-Lo. I'll let you go ahead and have it. Steven Dix Jr. This is from Christopher James asking, who is the best young linebacker on the depth chart after Emmett Rice and Amari Gaynor? D-Lo, are you thinking Dix immediately?
I mean, it's got to be Steven Dix. He was already running with the ones in the spring. He's a big hitter, and I think really we've talked about it before, but one of the things he needs to work on is the angles that he's taken to make these tackles. But I mean, this is an athletic guy. Like I said, he can knock someone's head off. You want to see him improve a little bit, maybe in pass coverage, but he's a young linebacker and just a ton of potential. I think he's going to be a stud for Florida State moving forward.
Yeah, I was going to mention the coverage parts as well. Just there were so many times last year here you just get lost in space. And hopefully Chris Marv's been working with him a lot this offseason about when to attack, where to stay.
I mean, that whole defense was lost, though.
Yeah, but Dix, he has a ton of potential. I mean, he flashed it all last year. Hopefully he can get worked up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited for Dix. He came in already as a true freshman. Big boy, takes care of his body, obviously. And this man's throwing around some serious weight right now in the locker room. I'm about to throw this cat. Just like Steven Dix. But he's throwing around some crazy weight right now, too. the biggest thing with him is getting down his reads, figuring out the playbook a little bit more, and being put in the right place, in my opinion. I loved that Chris Marv and Adam Fuller and Norvell, they threw these young cats in there, and they got a lot of PT last year, guys. They got a lot of playing time, and I think that's great. I think that's great for them. I'd rather have them be in there and do that in a season that's just already a complete BS. The whole thing was, it felt like, just let them go in there, get some college playing time. And I think that we're going to see guys that, some of these guys too got a lot of playing time last year. And I think that's going to help a ton for these young cats going into the next season, not being so altered by going in there and playing a college football game, because it is a complete different story. It's a complete different, I don't know, like, experience in high school. Every college player says that. It's a whole 180. It's more playing mental than anything, but it's extremely physical too. But definitely for these young cats and linebackers, having to be at the right, making sure you're at the right gaps where you're going, and then also being able to make your reads fine. And definitely for a guy like Dix, who could be a leader there and be calling out plays, maybe. I think there was a few times where Chris Marv said, he's allowed Steven Dix to make a few calls here and there, and that's huge for true freshmen coming in. So get ready for an upgrade there, I think, for Steven Dix Jr. And also, we're not talking about him enough, but I thought DJ Lundy looked pretty impressive to me last season. Another young cat that came in pair with Steven Dix Jr. Came in a little bit more quicker than Nate had thought he would. He thought he'd be maybe just a little. Well, he didn't think that. Nate, I think, was talking about how big he was, but he was kind of still more impressed about how quickly he was moving east and west on plays. And I think another full year, you get in the weight room with Coach Storms, and you get that whole strength and conditioning staff there on him. I think Lundy's also throwing around some crazy weight too. So those two, I think there's a lot to be excited about.
Jayon McCluster as well. Really, that whole trio, all of them coming in that same class, they're all primed to have bright futures at Florida State.
Absolutely. Matthew, appreciate the kind words and hanging out with us on this wonderful Thursday evening. I definitely appreciate you for the nice words, man. That's nice words, Dustin. Even with you on the show, they're saying it's the best FSU show. I don't know how this is happening right now.
Hey, thank you, Matthew.
Okay, you don't have to talk like we're in ASMR. Hey, Matthew, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Okay, we will definitely move on as quick as we can on to the next segment before we jump into some basketball. Yeah, you're just falling apart. Just go ahead and mute your mic. I'm just kidding. We got some bold predictions for fall camp, gentlemen. Guys, we are just a few weeks away, I believe. I know that the FSU staff and everybody's set to be back on August 1st. So I'm trying to think whenever fall camp begins. I feel like I should know this as the moderator host here on Hear the Spear, but
I thought it was like August 3rd or August 4th, but I might be wrong.
I think it's definitely the first week of August. But anyway, so we're just only, right, we'll just say 2 weeks. Does that sound fine? Isn't that crazy?
2 weeks. 2.5.
2.5. Oh my God. All right, go back to muting your mic. So practically 2.5 weeks, blah, 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 till fall camp begins, the 2021 season. We're back to normal, guys. It feels good. Feels nice. There's been a lot of storylines this whole offseason, but heading to fall camp, there's going to be a lot of competition. I think there's going to be a lot of things that we'll go into and make some predictions for next week whenever we start previewing and everything that we're going to be completely wrong about, which I'm so excited for. It makes it for more fun stuff for us to talk about. But let's each give a bold prediction from one of us heading into fall camp, and it has to strictly be in between the lines of fall camp. This is not going to be season predictions or bold predictions for the upcoming season. We'll do that most certainly, I believe, the week before the Notre Dame game. That'll probably be a 3-hour podcast then. But sticking just to fall camp, we're going to give a bold prediction each for the fun part there. Dustin, you're smiling. It took a couple of us to kind of figure out what a bold prediction would be. But I'm interested to see, too, in the comments. I want the people in the comments, or if you're watching,
you should say what your first prediction was.
My
about the number 3 running back.
Well, I'm very high. I'll say it. I mean, I'm very high on Treshaun Ward. Dustin, you are too. Anybody that's been able to see him play maybe in the spring scrimmage. Not a lot of people have been able to see him play. Only a few times during the game, during a bowl game, we got to see him play against FSU's first team defense during a spring scrimmage, and he was the best player on the field. So I was going to say a bold prediction would be him moving up to the number 3 in the depth chart. I think if it were to be a bold prediction in the fall camp, he'd have to move to like at least number 2, because I would put either Toafili or Corbin behind him. But Treshaun Ward, I think, will be the number 3 running back. That's just like one of my bold predictions. It's not crazy bold. It's not wild. It's not going to shock any. I'm not going to do shock waves.
Not
but
bold at all. It's like an average take.
So that's putting DJ Williams behind him. That's an average take? So DJ Williams is behind him? Austin would not agree on that.
I would argue
Austin is very high on DJ Williams.
I mean, we saw Ward looked in the spring, and I would say he knows the system better probably than Williams. Any argument, Austin? No?
I was just throwing a name out there. Like, I just said I wouldn't be surprised if Williams had a good season. That's all I said. No, that was like
no. You did not just say you just had a good season. No.
That's what I was implying.
Someone clip it. See, we got to get enough. We got to get enough fame so then we can have people just send us Twitter clips like right now. Austin said that DJ Williams, you wouldn't be surprised if DJ Williams is leading the team in rushing this upcoming year. Austin, you're getting checked. You're getting checked.
That should be your bold take right there.
No.
But no, that would be a season prediction.
Yeah, that's a season thing.
Oh. Yeah, that's a season
Is
thing.
he going to lead him in rushing during fall camp?
No.
Pretty bold.
Austin, are you going to be there at the camp, or are you going to be like water boy?
No.
You're not going to go from a basketball equipment manager to football.
I wasn't even.
I mean, not equipment manager. Sorry, I'm sorry. That's a diss. That is disrespectful. I'm sorry, I disrespected Austin. But do you want me to give me? I already did mine, kind of. I still got another one that I'm going to do it. But do you have one, D-Lou? Give us yours.
I'm just trying to figure out if I should take Austin's.
See, someone that
I have a different one. You can say it. I have one.
Oh, I can do a different one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfection. So yeah, my fall camp bold prediction: at least one true freshman wide receiver will be taking snaps with the starters. And I lean towards that being Malik McClain, who was just the best. He was the best receiver, I would say, consistently throughout the entire spring, whenever that came to the scrimmages and the spring game as well.
So, I mean, that to me isn't like. So, are you saying that like he's taking first team snaps by like week 4 in fall camp, or are we
week
talking?
4? What happened before that?
Well, I'm just saying that'd be where you're starting to settle in who your starters are going to be, and you're starting to work your game planning and everything. Because to me, we saw him taking first team snaps on the first dadgum play of spring scrimmage, and we were like, "Why is number 11 out there?" So that doesn't.
Are you saying it's not bold?
I don't think it's bold. I think you'd have to say if he's like before the week of FSU versus Notre Dame, and he's taking first team snaps at wide receiver. I think that'd be a bold prediction. Like it'd be bold that he's out there. You know what I'm saying?
What if he's taking starting snaps on week 1? What does that mean?
I guess that would be bold.
I feel like that'd be bolder
That's
than
a bold
week 4.
prediction. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay,
as long as he sticks with it.
Yeah.
I think after 5 practices, Dakota. Either coming on. What? Hey, it's my brother.
Dustin keeps getting cut off, and I feel like Logan should instead. Dang it.
Face?
Dakota.
We just don't want to look at Dustin. That's really all it is.
I don't want to look at me either.
Don't say that because he'll turn off his camera. Austin. But going back to the bold predictions here. Okay, so I'll take that one. I understand. So Malik McClain, he's taking the bold prediction. He's taking first team rep. Okay, so this is first reps in the starting group at wide receiver. Malik McClain. After the first day of practice.
After 5 practices at most.
I wouldn't be surprised. We were talking about it on the pre-show. Like, we don't really have one. And I was like, well, Malik McClain. And Dustin's like, We gotta do another segment. But I think we're all really high on Malik McClain. He showed it in the spring game, even just how talented he is and what he can do with the ball in his hands. He's just a talented kid.
Yep. No,
And
he is.
someone's got to step up in that room, and why shouldn't it be him?
Yeah, he's shown up and he's played a ton of snaps, and I like seeing that. You know, I don't need to bring it up again, but you know, he's a guy that kind of might have been like a little shocker into the spring. Wasn't really expected. They were worried about him putting on some weight and such, and you know, his work ethic, whatever. But man, it was great to see him out there. Whenever me and Delu were there, and again to see him he got the most snaps, I think, out of any player out there. Him and Tate Rodemaker, I believe, were 1 and 2 on getting the most snaps during the spring. And so Malik McClain, and I'm not counting out Joshua Burrell either. Let's not forget that he also had a really nice spring too, coming in as a true freshman, has put on some size. The cat can squat friggin' $100,000. Looks great. He also makes some plays and catch the ball. Dustin, you are so jealous of these kids not being like lifting 20 times more than you. Just get over it.
And when you call people cat,
what's wrong? You never, Austin. That's a regular thing. That's a regular thing.
It is a regular thing, but I almost hate it as much as anytime you bring up someone's weight.
Oh my God! Well, that's not going into the thing that I'm talking about with Big Cat. Like what do you want me to say, big boy?
Is he gonna throw up a fur ball while he's working out? Like
that's what you're thinking. You're thinking of it like an animal cat.
I hate you calling a man a cat almost as much as I say, almost as much as I hate you just saying how much weight someone gained in an off season. It just really grinds my gears. Yeah.
People,
if you use them both in the same sense, I want to leave the podcast.
That's a big cat.
Grinds my gears.
You look at Timmy Jernigan. That's a big cat.
No, it's just
I can't believe y'all never heard that.
No, I've heard it. Just because I've heard it doesn't mean I like it.
Kids these days, too much RuneScape and NBA 2K. 2 games that were made a decade ago that are awful.
2 games that you play.
I don't play 2K or RuneScape. That's Dustin plays that. And I saw you on 2K earlier on Discord, Austin. It tracks. I'm able to see when Dustin's on RuneScape and how long you're playing, and Austin too.
Right now, it's the only game that's working for me. So I'm kind of down bad.
Oh man,
you're just really trying to get out of this cat argument any way you can, huh?
Oh yeah. Anyways, going back to bold predictions, VZ. The floor is yours. What is your bold prediction for fall camp?
I'm going to the other side of the ball, and I'm going with a guy that really flashed in the spring game. Kevin Knowles gets rotation early. He had a really good spring game. He's covering guys well, had a pick. May have had 2 picks. I forget at this point. But he looks athletic, had a really nice pick, dove and got it. I wouldn't be surprised if he saw early rotation.
Early rotation. Is that bold? We need the listeners.
I know you've got another bold prediction, Logan.
I've got a real bold one. And then it's not easy doing like a fall camp bold prediction. I was just trying to find some content for this week, and I think it's pretty good. There's a lot of good stuff going on in this camp, and there's gonna be a lot of competition. But going back to Kevin Knowles, I thought he had a nice spring game. I thought he did very well, and he's very well respected in that locker room. D-Lou, he comes in and if he's able to get some picks and be a star, man, what a perfect last name for him, dude. Talk about someone that needs to start utilizing that NIL. All he needs to do is play very play very good on the field, and boom, he could utilize that NIL in a big time. Get a few picks, get a pick against Notre Dame, 2 picks against Notre Dame. Man, he should take advantage of the name, image, and likeness. But I think there's a bright future there for that young DB, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about him either.
I think he's super talented. I mean, I've already said twice. He was just so good in the spring game. Yeah, I mean, he was mostly going up against what we're considering second-string guys, but he just has a ton of talent.
I'll go and give
Get
my
this
bold
comment off the screen. No.
Can we block this guy? Find a new show, James.
No, James.
It's been nice having
comment. Thank you, James. Dustin and Austin are really cool cats.
If you had unsubscribe button, click that.
No, don't do that. Great God. Going into my bold prediction, I'm going to go ahead and actually give a bold prediction and be a man here and have some hair on our chest here. I got to represent the team well here.
I got
I'd
one
hear
after
the Spear. Yours is it's like a grade B. Austin's is like B minus. Of course,
I got one more.
Oh, you got one more?
Yeah.
What's your one more?
I was gonna let you go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. I'm gonna go with in the quarterback room, and I'm gonna say Tate Rod. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go with Jordan Travis and Mackenzie Milton going at it, battling very well. But I think in the end, overall, Jordan Travis is going to have the best fall camp out of all quarterbacks there. I think it's a pretty decent bold prediction. He obviously, I think, had the better spring. Not really fair, though, because Mackenzie Milton just arrived at FSU. It wasn't so pretty for him connecting well with wide receivers. And I think there's been a lot of time for Mackenzie Milton to work and try to build that chemistry and, understand the route running for some of these guys that he'll be throwing to. But I think overall, Jordan Travis might shock some people and have the best camp out of all the quarterbacks for FSU in fall camp. And we'll see if it turns out. It should turn into him being named a starter, but we'll see.
The starter.
It's a terrible bold take. Keep it a whole buck.
A terrible one. You said Kevin Knowles will be in a rotation. What the second string rotation, third string rotation?
Already had a better spring. Like, how is this a bold take?
I think a lot of people
longer.
Well, if Nate was on here right now, let's all agree that he would be like saying Mackenzie Milton's already the starter, so why doesn't make any sense anyways.
Nate's not here to save you though.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank goodness, maybe.
It's a bad prediction.
I don't think so. Well, then that would eventually mean that he'd be the starter. If I say that it's a bold prediction that he has the best fall camp, that means he'll be a starter. So then people maybe will come after. Well, that I would have some questions.
If you say he comes out of fall camp being the starter, like if you had just said that right away, then yeah, a little bit bold. But saying he'll have a better fall camp, not really that bold. I don't think that's that bold at all. It's about as bold as regular font.
As regular font, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Oh, Austin. I saw that video of you shooting that basket the other day. How much cutting did you have to do in that on that Twitter video? Because I saw you make that basket.
I only cut it once because I made 4 in a row. And I just didn't want to do all 4 because it would have been a minute-long video. Because I was
no, you can do.
I will send the whole 5 seconds in between shots.
No, it was like it was like a minute long. I'm not gonna lie.
That's bad math. Never mind.
It was like 15 seconds each. I was really tired. It was at the end of my workout.
Well, I don't know.
Do you want me to send you the video?
No.
You do like workout videos. I can send it to you.
No, not you throwing a basketball. No, I don't even want to watch that. I want to see.
He's a shooting cat.
Okay, see, now that's where Dustin just ruins everything. Now I can't really say anything anymore. Dustin, go and give us your bold predictions so we can get to Nate's. Austin's Nuggets.
Shut up. This is probably the boldest prediction of this entire segment because you guys have really let us down tonight. But, okay. Recent transfer defensive end, Marcus Cushney, will have the best fall camp out of any defensive lineman on the roster.
Bold, and I like it.
No, it's bold.
The newest player to arrive on the unit.
It's bold.
It took him about a month to earn a scholarship. So he's going to want to go out and prove himself. I can see it, and I like it.
He looks like he's in great shape.
I do like it.
I think he's hungry. And he said he's coming to the ACC because he wants to get sacks and get paid.
Well,
he's coming on a mission.
That's a pretty good mission for a lot of people to have. But definitely him. I think it's worth. I'll give you. It's worth a bold prediction. I think our last 2 were good bold predictions. Mine's like a bold one because it's Kevin Knowles being in the rotation now. That's one rotation of what?
I just can't say anything you do is good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it goes. Always 24/7. There's a question on here, and if you guys were inside of the Discord, you guys would have a kind of a tip on this one. We talked about it earlier this week, but this is from Jen asking, will Chubba Purdy be at the fall camp? Young redshirt freshman quarterback. We were told just a little bit ago that he has arrived in Tallahassee. You guys kind of knew about that. Also, if you're a Patreon member inside the Discord, you would have known he was arriving in July. He spent a lot of time rehabbing and recovering from another upper body surgery, but he has arrived in Tallahassee, and I'm expecting him to be almost at a full go for fall camp. So some good news there for sure. Definitely a depth. They're kind of looking at him as being a number 3 quarterback. We'll see. I think it'll be an interesting camp for him too, guys, to watch, because is he going to be coming back fully healthy? There's still a lot of promise in him and talent, and there's a lot of guys that have some high hopes for him. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think, we haven't even really been talking about him that much when it comes to the quarterback battle, but, this guy has a ton of talent. Obviously, that rehab didn't go the way he wanted to. It went a little bit longer than people thought, but, I think this is going to be a really big season. Maybe not, playing wise for Chubba Purdy, but he's going to get to learn from a guy like Mackenzie Milton, who, knows how to be a leader, knows how to win, knows how to perform at the highest level. And I think those are just really, really good qualities that Purdy could pick up himself to really help move him forward a little bit mentally, I would say, as he starts to move towards, eventually, hopefully, being a young star in college football.
Matthew Johnson here is thinking he feels pretty comfortable with Milton, Travis, and Purdy being there as quarterbacks, and I agree. I think definitely if Purdy comes in healthy and he's good to go, that's definitely a great set of quarterbacks that you set on, and Milton will be a huge leader in that room overall, definitely for Purdy, and even Jordan Travis too. I mean, let's not get it wrong here. Mackenzie Milton was at one time one of the best college athletes at the time, but also quarterbacks in the country. And that's going to help a ton in that film room, in my opinion. It's going to help a big time, because film room definitely for quarterbacks is huge, huge.
Yeah, I would say just about any school would be happy if Chubba Purdy was their 3rd quarterback.
This question here, definitely appreciate Khalil Young with the $9.99 donation. Appreciate it. Our guy here, regular viewer. Says Aslan from War Chant said that Josh Sweat was a letdown because he didn't live up to his 5-star rating. I strongly agree. How do you guys feel?
They said they strongly disagree.
Yeah.
No, I said I strongly disagree. Like he disagrees. How do you feel?
Before you agree or disagree, I have the stats in front of me because I was curious.
Oh, Austin's got the stats on him. You always keep Josh Sweat's stats on you?
No, I got a quick Google. For a career, 138 total tackles, 29 tackles for loss, 14.5 sacks, an interception his freshman season, and a forced fumble. 3 fumble recoveries as well.
So what does that tell you?
It's tough because that freshman year he was coming off from that horrific knee injury in high school.
Yeah.
So he was still working back from that his whole first year. He was solid. I wouldn't say he was quite up to a 5-star, but he was still a really good player for Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, maybe production-wise, he didn't live up to being a 5-star, but I thought overall, he was solid at just about everything. He wasn't an elite pass rusher. He wasn't elite at stopping the run, but I thought he had a good mix of a skill set where, he could contribute at multiple facets. And obviously that injury really hurt him. I think if he never has that knee injury, I mean, this is a guy that's probably a dominant star in college. I mean, that really, really hurt him. And, there was some concern that he might never play football again. And I think there was some thought at first that they might even have to amputate the leg. I mean, it was one of those really bad injuries. You think about a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, something like that. I mean, just a really freak injury. And I mean, even now, Josh Sweat, is he still signed in the NFL?
Yep.
I mean, this is a guy, he had a solid college career, and now he's in the NFL making money. By all accounts, he represented Florida State very well during his career. I don't know how you can say he's a disappointment, but it's Aslan, so who gives a shit?
Well, no, I think Sweat you all two touched on it, and the chat is also agreeing that, coming from a knee injury like that and it taken practically almost 2 years to fully get back, and then you're instantly trying to get ready for the NFL. And he's playing very well right now. He's playing well for the Eagles. He's got 10 sacks recorded right now with them up there in Philadelphia. It's tough. It's hard to come in. Definitely. It was before his injury. I mean, there was so much hype about him, and then once that injury happened, it kind of hindered him.
Before his injury, in 2 games his senior season, 25 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 8 sacks in 2 games.
No, if you watch his high school film, it's unbelievable. Like,
and then
he would have been. I think he would have been completely different without that catastrophic injury. I mean, imagine if he would have just been able to continue on that path that he was on without having a setback.
Yeah, the 3rd game of the season, tears his ACL and dislocates his knee. Went from the number 1 prospect with that injury and still finished number 11 in the class, which is pretty incredible. That tells you just how incredible this dude was in high school.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Well, let's move on to some basketball here before we kind of end everything off. Austin, you've had a busy last couple 48 hours, keeping an eye on the transfer area with some some big time targets, and also some recruiting. Some of the recruiting stuff will stay in the Discord, but kind of give us the rundown on what's going on with some of these transfers that's going on. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah, the 2 big transfer targets are announcing this week that both have Florida State in their list. Musa Chise already announced this morning that he's going to Oklahoma State. It's not really a surprise. Anyone that was tuned into that transfer recruitment pretty much knew it was Oklahoma State. What I'd been hearing was he wanted into Florida State, and Florida State was kind of like, we're good. We don't think we really need you that much. I think he's got a ton of potential. His defensive impact is massive, but offensively he was a negative. Analytically, statistically, however you want to put it, he was a negative on offense for Memphis last year. A team that needed some offense. So had he come to Florida State, you're kind of looking at the same thing you already have with Tanner Ngom. Obviously, Chise has a much higher ceiling. I'm not saying that. But it ended up being found a spot in Oklahoma State. And then the big one tomorrow or today, if you're listening to it when the podcast comes out, Kofi Coburn, Illinois transfer, announced his top 3 a few days ago of Illinois, Kentucky, and Florida State. And everyone's like, oh, wow, Florida State, that's new. We haven't heard that. Then almost immediately you find out, oh, Kentucky's not really in this recruitment at all. This Coach Cal hasn't contacted him. Really, it was just a nod to the 2 coaches that recruited him at Illinois went to Kentucky. So everyone's like, oh, so it's Illinois, Florida State. It's Illinois. I'm not going to say anything that's going to shock him, but he's probably going back to Illinois. But it's crazy that the Illinois beat writers are like, just keep an eye out for Florida State. Even just a couple hours ago, scrolling through their boards, and they're like, Florida State's still right there. It's probably Illinois, but he hasn't 100% told the staff, hey, I'm going back to Illinois. It's going to be interesting. I'd be shocked if it's anything but Illinois, but he's the best transfer we've arguably ever seen in the transfer portal. He's that good of a player. I mean, he was averaging 18 points, 8 or 9 rebounds last year. He's okay defensively. You would think that if he went to a team like Florida State that has Coach Jones and Leonard Hamilton, that he'd get right on defense while still having that offensive impact. He could be something special going to the NBA whenever he wants to. But probably going back to Illinois, take advantage of a nice little NIL boost, and Florida State will be looking for yet another transfer big.
I don't know if you said it, but Florida State, they were on him pretty hard out of high school, right?
Yeah, they were on him heavy out of high school. It was him, Omar Payne, who's also now coincidentally at Illinois, originally went to Florida. They're after both of them really hard coming out of high school, and they ended up getting Balsha, who Balsha was great, especially this season down the stretch. Balsha was phenomenal, but decided to leave early, and now they're looking for another big. If they could somehow squeeze out Coburn, which I don't really see it. He seems to be one of those guys that cares about himself. I don't want to say this in a negative term, but he wants to build up his brand, and that's not what Coach Ham's about. This is a team. You're going to operate in a team. My 10's better than your 5 kind of thing. Obviously, he'd fit phenomenally stylistically, but Personality, I don't know.
There's a question down here, Austin, if you see it down below, from our guy Mendoza, asking, what can Austin tell me about Derek Lively II?
If you think he's going anywhere other than Kentucky, you are fooling yourself. He is Kentucky bound. He was pretty much always been Kentucky bound. Florida State's recruiting him very curiously. You know, they see him as like a John Isaac type that can play the 4 or the 5, which I don't really see. He's 7'1", 240. Obviously, he has the ability to stretch out mid-range, and maybe it has the potential to stretch out to 3, but he's a 5. Florida State recruitment as a 4 kind of seems kind of gimmicky to me. But he was high school teammates with Jalen Worley. That's obviously going to play a factor, but he's going to Kentucky.
And then I don't know if you want to give any kind of hints or anything about some stuff that you shared inside the Discord last night. But, you know, there might be some momentum for FSU, or Florida State's feeling pretty good about some targets.
Yeah, 2022, let's just say it's looking like an all-time great class. You know, we've already talked about Jason Gortman a couple weeks ago, and then Julian Phillips and Dylan Mitchell going to campus a couple weekends ago. And even Dariq Whitehead, who everyone thinks is heavy Duke lean. I'll just say it's not as heavy of a Duke lean as people thought. You know, there's some stuff coming out from Florida State side that, you know, he really likes Florida State, really enjoyed his visit, had a phenomenal time on this visit. It's going to be one of those things that people might be a little bit surprised, just because this is my theory. I don't know if it's true, but the guy that makes all these edits for these recruits is Tipton Edits, and he's a huge Duke fan. So, of course, he's in his comments saying Duke, Duke, Duke. Dariq was a Duke fan growing up, but it's kind of tough to go to a brand new head coach at Duke. You know, how is he going to perform under the shadow of Mike Krzyzewski after he retires? I don't know. It's going to be one of those things. It's 2 months. We're going to beat out 2 years, because he's set to announce August 1st. And it's one of those things where if Florida State was somehow to land all 4 of these guys, you're looking at a class that would have finished second in this year's class for 2021, if you line up the numbers. They're all 4 top 30 players, I think, off the top of my head. Whitehead's 6th, Gortman's 10th, Phillips is 25th, and Mitchell's 30th. So even the 2 guys that aren't 5 stars, they're borderline 5 stars, and I believe Mitchell's going to get there before too long.
I'm just wondering, I mean, what is Leonard Hamilton doing, man? This point guard, he's only 6'1". He's not 6'8". What's going on?
He's 6'1" with a 6'8" wingspan.
We're recruiting normal sized guys now.
6'1" with 6'8" wingspan with insane athleticism. He's not your normal 6'1" point guard. This is a guy that can get off the floor in a hurry.
That's crazy.
He's going to be a midget out there.
And then you look at Phillips, Whitehead, and Mitchell. Phillips, Whitehead, and Mitchell. Obviously, Whitehead's the bigger question mark of the 3, but you look at those 3. They're all Florida State guys. Long, athletic, can defend 1 through 4, and even some 5s depending on the school. And they're looking really, really nice for 2022.
I really don't see a 3-star in sight that Florida State's after. They're going after the filet mignons.
They're after them, and they're going to get their handful of them. It's looking special. More info in the Discord. We did a bat cave last night. Keep an eye out. I think Gortman and Mitchell announced before the month is over, and then Whitehead's August 1st, and things are heating up.
Get in the Discord, guys. Telling definitely before fall camp begins. You got fall camp, got Nate or Austin's Nuggets. You got Dustin and Nate. We've also got Mikey, our newest addition. Shout out to Mikey Clark, just joined our staff to help recruiting coverage. So we're just getting kind of ramped up here, and the place to be is patreon.com/NoleGameDay. It can only be $2.99 a month. You guys can join and be in on a lot of these nuggets, man. There's so many things that get shared a week. It's crazy. And definitely once fall camp rolls around, and definitely when Austin gets into his basketball stuff, along with recruiting too, I mean, it's just nonstop. So definitely suggest you guys joining. It's very easy to use, and you can use it on your phone, and it's awesome. Gentlemen, anything else before we end off the pod? Any kind of messages you guys want to send out to loved ones, or last remarks before we head out of here?
Please sponsor us. Please.
You think, what do you need?
Help keep this show going. It's going off the rails.
I thought we did a pretty good show tonight.
That was a solid show. I don't know what Dustin's talking about. I think he's depressed.
Negative
We're down
Nancy.
40% of our crew. Yeah, we're having to put in extra work.
Hey,
we use a sponsorship.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe there are some on the horizon. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there are some. Well, we would love to advertise for someone. We would love. I think we do a pretty good job too. I think so. We'll get Dustin to say everything.
So we can talk in the same monotone voice like this. Yeah, that's probably why we don't have one.
That's probably exactly why. Talking like he's in an ASMR kind of kinky thing going on here.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, all right. I think that's going to do it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. This is Hear the Spirit presented to you by Noel Game Day. As always, you guys, if you want to listen just on a podcast while you're at the gym or driving home from work or driving to work, you can go to Google Play, Spotify, iTunes. We're also on YouTube too. So you guys can go subscribe wherever you'd like. We definitely appreciate when you guys drop a like or simply hit subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much, you guys, for listening. Next week, we're going to recap the ACC Media Day. We're going to go through all those interviews. We just talked a ton about Jermaine Johnson, Mackenzie Milton, Jordan Travis being those three guys representing the Seminoles up there in Charlotte. So we will be coming back here to recap that, and then we start getting into some fall camp stuff. We're getting into some previews of the position groups and a lot of the episodes coming up. So, man, football's coming, gentlemen and ladies out there. Things are happening. Football, feel it coming. So hope everybody has a great rest of y'all's week. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'm going to say that again for the second time. I need to go ahead and end this thing before I screw everything up and end off a really good show. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's week.